Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in to the Maze of Blue Reviews. Good afternoon, Michigan football. There he is on the screen, Jim Scarcelli. It's great to see him and be here on this Monday. Scar, what's going on?
You know, Danny, you had the little drum beat going on. I just got to tell you this. Anybody that's played at Michigan, they'll never forget the first time they run on the field and the whole pregame, the whole environment and what that's like. And but I never forget, you know, the last time you come out to warm up and then you come back and then you go again and then you come back. Anyway, the last time before you're going to hit the banner and come on the field, the band comes into the tunnel and they're playing. And they're playing the fights. They're playing, you know, the drums are going, and it's just a real fired up atmosphere, man. You playing that little beat you just had reminded me of that. And guys that understand what it is to come out of that tunnel, you know, it gets you geeked up, as the young guys say.
Well, I can only imagine, and I know just by going to the game that there's a lot of different things, pomp and circumstance that goes on in Michigan Stadium. They've got a bunch of good stuff, but that 2 minutes or so where you guys come running out of the tunnel and you touch the banner, and then that is it's kind of a frenzy. It's built up, you know. You've got all the stuff going on before, but once that happens, it's on. And that's one of the great things. That's one of the great game day traditions. I can only imagine being. I've heard people talk about, because you're a freshman, you're on the very back, and they say, you know, stay up with them or something. And it kind of feels like it's sucking you out of there or something. It's kind of a big ramp that you got to go down there, right?
Yeah, you're right, because you get your momentum going, and you're going a lot faster than you think if you start up at the top of the hill there, at top of the tunnel. And what's interesting, though, as a young guy, when I wasn't playing, you could get all fired up, whatever. You go through warm-up, and you're done. You're sitting there watching the game. You got a great seat. But once you start playing, you've got to get used to, you know, decompressing and not letting all that get to you emotionally, because you don't want to get too emotional before a game. You know, you have to find that happy median between, fired up, ready to go, but under control.
Yeah, I would imagine that takes,
it takes time to get used to that.
I can see that. Well, we've got time today. We've got unlimited time to go over all of these different things that we're going to talk about. It's great. You know, we're now here on 3 Rivals. We've got a new recruiting list. They've put all of their minds and their expertise together, Rivals and On 3, the different recruiting analysts and everything. And they've come out with a Rivals 300 that just came out today. And one of the Michigan players has vaulted up the standings. We'll get to that when we do talk about recruiting that is coming up. And then we have been going over, Scar, it's, you know, you could say, wait, you're going over the spring game film. That's right. There's different parts of the spring film. You may have even watched the game. You have even watched the play a number of times, but you haven't watched it with Scar, and we'll see what he has to say and what he breaks out with the film analysis. But I got a message today to start. How about going around the Big Ten and what's going on there? And that's where we start. The Big Ten, what are you thinking about when it comes down?
Well, I just saw that Minnesota committed to PJ Fleck. Big long-term contract. So they're going with PJ, and he's done a good job. PJ is a winner. He won at Western. He built them into a program, and we battled with them. Nothing's been easy against PJ. You know, Minnesota's a tougher place to recruit than other places, and he's done a good job. So he's in, and, you'd like to see him leave, but he's there. I just wanted to point that out. Denny, I saw this is not really Big Ten, but I heard a statement, and this is an interesting statement. Anyway, any thoughts on PJ?
I like PJ. I think there's been times where I thought that he might be the Michigan coach, and if there is an opening, he would have been on. He's always been on my list. And then he'll go a couple of years, and then he'll have a down year, and people will be like, "Oh, well, there it is with PJ Fleck." But then he bounces back. He's a good coach. I like him.
Yeah, I think this has been mentioned, but Przybula, the kid that left Penn State, the backup, is getting $1.5 million at Missouri. I just thought that was interesting. A backup getting in $1.5 million, quarterback going to someplace else. I think we talked about that. But there was a statement, Danny, this isn't the Big Ten, but it's the guy at Arizona State is Dillingham. He's a real good coach. He's got that program going. He was an assistant at Washington. He's a good coach. He went and got the right quarterback from Michigan State, had him in the championship game. Anyway, he made a statement that I thought was interesting. He's not so much interested in leading the country in recruiting or, NIL and all this other stuff he talked about. He said he wants to lead the country in retention of his players. He wants to lead the country in keeping his guys as Wildcats there at Arizona State. And I thought that that's interesting. I mean, I see where if I'm at Michigan, I do want some guys to leave after a while. Like the kid Bennett left. Keyshawn Bennett.
Yeah.
He's a good player, but he wasn't. We're not beating Ohio State with him. So if I'm coaching and those guys get in the portal, I'm actually kind of happy if I'm Sharon Moore because that frees up a scholarship. You know what I mean? You don't want to run guys off like they did back in the day, but if he wants to leave, that's fine. So anyway, there's a fine line, I think, between wanting some guys to leave, the guys that aren't really stacking up and measuring up like you thought when you recruited them, but then keeping the guys. And I think we've done a good job with retaining the players that we wanted.
Yeah, I think you got to be careful what you wish for. You said it's Sun Devils there for the
Sun Devils. What did I say? Wildcats.
Yeah, we all knew what you meant.
Yeah,
but like you just have to go to Michigan. And when Harbaugh was here, I had a talk with someone who's close to Harbaugh, about as close as you can get with Harbaugh, and he said, just keep an eye on who's playing. If you're not playing, Harbaugh is telling you should go somewhere else. And that's kind of, you could say that with any team, but if you're out there, maybe not a true freshman, but if you're looking out there and you have been with the program for a year or two and you're not getting any burn, any clock, as you like to say, then the writing's on the wall. And sure, you could stay around and say, I want to graduate and I want a degree from here. There are some guys that end up doing that. And there are some guys, I look at this year's team and Jaden Hood, he's still on this team. He's barely played. When Harbaugh was here, he liked to talk about him, one of these spring guys. And then I recall him showing up one week to one of the news conferences. And you listen to Jaden Hood, and you're like, man, this guy's great. I mean, he is Michigan through with he's everything that you would want in a football player. And then you listen to him like a Michigan man, you would say everything that you would want. And he's hung around. So there are some guys that's nice, but if you're not playing, I would suggest that you go out and hit the portal.
Yeah. So anyway, a program like Arizona State, they're not Alabama, they're not Michigan, they're not Notre Dame. So he has to really focus on once you do recruit a good player, like some of these guys, Purdue and some of these guys that do recruit good players, people go and steal them. Then they can NIL up a little better.
Yeah.
One last thing about a Big Ten team, I listened to USC's coach, the hell's his name? God damn it. USC's football coach, Denny, what's his name?
The USC's football coach, his name is
Lincoln Riley. Anyway,
Riley. Thank you.
I listened to him talk about preparing for a team that he's going to play, and it was just really good. I encourage people to find that presentation he gave, and he talked about the first thing is understanding the scheme that the guy runs, and he talked about they're and that's what coaches are looking at now. They're looking at all that stuff in the offseason scheme. That's what. And next week, Denny, I'm going to bust out some Washington State film. Why Washington State? Because the quarterback Oklahoma's quarterback was there. Oklahoma's offensive coordinator was at Washington State. So we got the quarterback and the offensive coordinator now at Oklahoma. So
John Mateer.
That's the quarterback, and then the coordinator came with them. So the scheme, our coaches, I guarantee you, they are studying the hell out of Washington State scheme and what they're doing. So anyway, I just thought it was really interesting listening to Lincoln Riley. And he made a great deal of sense. It was a great presentation. One last statement, not so much. It's about Michigan, Connor Stallions. Connor, if I ever had a chance to talk with you, look, man, I understand you love Michigan. I understand Connor Stallions loves Michigan. He needs to just let it go, man. Don't get into arguments on Twitter. Keep bringing it up. Just let it go. Let it die. That's my advice to Connor Stallions. I get it. You love Michigan. You got the manifesto, you got big goals, but let the thing go, man. That's just my advice to Connor.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would have given that advice to Connor Stallions a year ago. I would have told him not to be, sitting in his car for Netflix across from the stadium or anything else. If you really like Michigan, shut your mouth and just go find something else to do. But hey, he's I think there's a part of him. I know there's a lot of things that go on there, and whether he feels like he's been wronged or whatever else. I mean, his computer, he wouldn't have got caught if somebody didn't illegally hack his computer. So I'm sure he hates that. That's how he ended up, getting tossed out of college football. But he's there's a part of him who, he's hanging around the games. He's taking pictures with Michigan fans. I mean, it's somebody needs to tell him, like, look, it's over for you with Michigan. If you want to go somewhere else. I didn't even like how he was close with Bryce Under. They brought him in. I get it from a Belleville standpoint. All of a sudden, you got this guy that everybody's talked about for the past year, this villain or this hero, and then you're bringing him into a high school game. You're somebody like Howell, and you're like, wait a second, we got to go against, this whoever this crazy dude is over here. But I didn't like him even being close to Bryce Underwood. So I wish he would just disappear and not be in college football, certainly not in the state of Michigan. If he wants to resurface in New Mexico or something like that, and then in 10 years, you see him and you're like, oh yeah, there's Connor Stallions. But that's my thought with it.
Yeah, I actually respected the hell out of him going down to Mumford High School, a place that hasn't won, and the issues. I know what that's all about, coaching at a school like that. Okay, and I respected him going in there, trying to mix it up. He was the defensive coordinator, and then sure enough, he bails, goes to the a big time program. So that kind of disappointed me. But that's Connor. Chill out, let it go, and anyway, that's that. One other thing that kind of bugged me, Denny.
Yeah,
you got $2.8 billion is the house settlement. You know how much the lawyers are getting? $1 billion. They're getting 1/3 of it, more than 1/3 of it. They're getting $1 billion. The 2.8 for the players. Anyway, I just had to throw that out. That's kind of disgusting, but it is what it is.
Hey, billable hours. They always talk about that. Good time to be. Maybe it's always a good time to be a lawyer. You said that's that, but here's the feedback. Your Robbie says, Scar, sometimes you got to respond and set the record straight. That's what John's saying. He's letting everybody know.
You're right, John Stoops. Connor is he's getting back at. You're right. You're absolutely right. Everybody else is doing the same damn thing, and however it played out, and I guess he feels the need to defend himself. I'm not in his shoes, but I just think for Michigan, it's better if he just chills out. But for him, maybe he feels the need. He has to respond. But
he's the one that got caught, and so that's sure. So he's been put out there like a pariah, and so. But there's plenty of Michigan fans that are still lining up, and if it was up to them, he would still be with the maize and blue. So there you go. Up on the screen, it's been up there for a minute or two. Phil Steele's put some different things out with his college football magazine. He's got the toughest schedules. Got what's if you look, Michigan is playing Wisconsin with a really tough schedule. But if you look over here on the tough part of the schedule, Michigan really doesn't play. When they do play Wisconsin, they do play Ohio State, but the rest of them, They got some easier schedules, and then Steele's got Michigan's schedule ranked as 15th. They do have to go to Oklahoma, but it's pretty easy considering the teams that they dodge in the conference, including, Oregon and Penn State that's sitting there. And then, I don't know how many preseason all Big Ten players, if it goes down to first, second, third team, if there's that many, but Phil Steele put Penn State with the most amount of preseason all Big Ten players. They lead with Michigan having the fourth amount on those teams. So that's one person's opinion on how the talent is divvied out. Could be pretty close. I would get, Phil usually looks at a lot of different, it's not just him sitting around throwing darts. He does have a method to put that out there, and it is something you see. Penn State's got a lot of good talent. I think you could take that.
Yeah, I disagree. I think Michigan's schedule is much tougher than 15th. Nebraska's going to be one of the top teams. Washington's got a quarterback. They got a coach. He's got good players. Michigan State will be a better football team. Wisconsin will be a better football team than they were last year. You don't always know, Denny, how a team's going to do. I mean, I get it. Phil has to do it. I tell you, maybe you and I, Denny, we'll throw out some wisdom next week, and we'll rank the schedules in the Big Ten. I'm going to take a look at it. But I did, and I know Michigan's, we go to Oklahoma. We go to USC. You think USC is going to be a joke? I don't agree. I think Phil's a little wrong there. I think we're going to have a little tougher schedule.
Well, it's challenging if you want to do it. And as one of the parts, if you're doing it, you can come up with a formula. You can just eyeball it like you're talking about here and say, hey, I think this team's going to be good or whatever else. But up towards the top, they do play Ohio State, but you're thinking about the teams that are expected to be the best, and Michigan doesn't play them this year. And so they miss them. So I tend to think, and one part where it's difficult, and somebody could say, well, Phil Steele, he's out of Ohio, so he likes Ohio State, which is fine. Everybody's always thinking that everybody's biased and everything. But if you do it, Scar, and put it out there, anybody that would be outside of Michigan would just say, this guy played at Michigan. He's a total homer.
Let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you right now, there's 18 teams in the Big Ten, okay? Let's just take the other 17 minus Ohio State. When you get your schedule, okay, those other 17 teams, I'm going to tell you the last team in the Big Ten they want to play. Everybody does not want to play Ohio State more than anybody, okay? We got them every year, okay? Yeah. So Phil needs to reevaluate some things. We got them every year, and that's the last team on the schedule, guaranteed every year that the rest of the 17 teams do not want to play as Ohio State. And then, so anyway, that's that. We'll look at it. We'll throw out some more sensible stuff next week.
Okay, I look forward to that.
Hey, how about, Denny, I know this isn't on your agenda, but how about Michigan having a first-round draft pick? Football, basketball, hockey, and baseball. Did you talk about that?
I did not, but that is
a nice thing. Yeah, we had a first-round draft pick in 4 of the big boy sports for the boys, for men.
Yeah, well, they usually do, and you think about football, you like to have that. Basketball, that's it. Hockey's been rolling, and so baseball's the one, but getting baseball in there is nice. Yeah, that is nice. That's a nice thing to put up. That social media. I was looking at it this morning, and I almost said, why am I on social media? But I looked at my Twitter feed, and sometimes they give you the for you. And I'm like, these guys are all, F you. That's all it is. F you, this. And I thought maybe I'll just delete this. But that's a nice thing, actually, that I did see on social media. And, that looks good when you're on Twitter. And if you're Michigan, it's a nice thing to put up there. So,
well, Denny, one last thing. I'm looking at the national stuff here. There's some federal politicians regulate. One of the things they really want to look at is because there are some states that made it easier for NIL than other states. You're aware of that, like Missouri. I don't know if you know that Missouri really did great in recruiting the last couple of years. Anyway, some of the legislation is to now equalize all that, so no state will have an advantage. You got it? They want to preempt. They want to have laws and rules that preempt any state where, whatever. Texas can't say, we're doing it a little different than than Ohio, to give Texas football coaches an advantage. So they're going to eliminate and exempt a lot of that stuff. So I thought that was a good thing.
Yeah, well, good luck on that, Scott. You know, all those lawyers that just made the $1 billion or anything, that's music to their ears because they're sitting around saying, oh, yeah, you're going to write that up because we're ready to take you to court on that one. Oh, Missouri will pay their high school players if they want, and they'll take it to court. Here's our army of lawyers. So,
well, we'll see.
Yeah, we will. There you go. What else are you looking at? I wanted to ask you a Michigan specific question. I saw it on the Den on the Maize and Blue Review today over on 3 Rivals, and it was just a query for Michigan fans, but it was kind of right down where you're a question for you, and it was just an easy one. How many times this year do you think that Michigan will call designed quarterback runs for Bryce Underwood?
You know, it's a great question. It's a great question, and a lot of that depends on how much depth we have. I got to put myself in that position as a coach. You know, how much depth and confidence do they have? Okay, is Bryce Underwood developing in where the coaches have full total confidence in him? Is Mikey Keene healthy and strong and slinging it and rolling? We're hearing Garcia looks real good, right? Isn't that the word?
Somebody said that he was,
well, that's what I read.
There was something positive on him. You're
okay,
right.
So Denny, when you have, if I'm coaching and I got 3 guys that are rolling, and supposedly Davis Warren is coming back healthier quicker than we thought. Anyway, all of that plays into my mindset as a coach. You know, can I have? Anyway. I think the amount of quarterback run goes up, which makes Michigan much more difficult to defend. So I'm big on quarterback run. It's hard to defend. You know, you come out empty and you run your quarterback with some power, some draws. You come out one back and lead the back through there. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff you can do that really puts the defense in a bind. So,
well, let me ask you a question. If you are calling RPOs, that is you're in effect saying there's a chance that you want your quarterback to run the ball. I mean, if
it depends what the defense is doing. Are they honoring the quarterback or not?
Sure.
Sometimes it depends. The defense is always, you don't know. It's then some of the stuff RPO is the quarterback doesn't have a run option. It's a pass or handoff option.
Okay.
You know, or it's a quarterback run or handoff option, but it's normally you don't have all 3 on one play. But anyway, to answer the question, I think we're going to see a hell of a lot more quarterback run this year. Okay, with Bryce and Keene healthy, I just think we're going to see, and I want to see it. We got to be smart with it. He's got to get the hell out of bounds. He's got to slide, whichever guy. You know, if it's Bryce, if he's the guy, he's got to. You know, we got to because he's the franchise.
That's a great point. JJ was pretty good at that in his last year. He knew when, hey, here's 5-6 yards. Instead of trying to pick up 7, let me step out of bounds. And that is something. Trevor McHugh, the senior writer over at the Maize and Blue Review, pointed out, did some quick numbers, in that Chip Lindsey at North Carolina 2 years ago had Drake May, who is now going to be a second-year quarterback for the Patriots, and he ran him on design quarterback runs 8 times.
The whole year?
Yeah, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if you think, I would not have a design run if Bryce Underwood started the season against New Mexico. I certainly wouldn't have him as a design run against CMU.
No,
but at Oklahoma,
everybody else, you got to have it in there. You know, you're absolutely right, Denny. And the fact that he ran that kid, which was, he was such a franchise, the whole, the huge deal on that off. No, we're going to have quarterback run, man. And it's college football now, man. It's a big deal, and it stresses the whole defense, man. So
I think it's going to be Bryce Underwood. I was just speaking with someone yesterday who came up to me, and I knew that the answer was yes. He said, "Hey, do you know that Mikey Keene, when he was at Central Florida, his offensive coordinator was Chip Lindsey?" And I said, "Yeah, I knew that." And he said, "How come nobody's talking about that?" And I said, "Well, he's, Keene's been hurt." And this guy was saying that's a huge advantage for Keene, knowing this offense and the amount of experience that he has. He was saying he is not counting out Mikey Keene where it seemed everybody else was. And I didn't say, well, I'm counting him out, but I did say, well, I think it's going to be Underwood because he got all the reps in spring and he will be the lead guy. And I think it's his job to lose, but I still think that even if all is equal, then I'm going to go with Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, if it's equal, you go with the young guy. If there's a significant difference, and then you have the JJ program we had with K his freshman year. But if it's equal, I would go with the young guy. That's my thought. Yeah,
one thing that we've seen with the transfer portal, we have seen great players. I mean, you just think of Stewart and just how good he was off the edge for Josiah. And he was an up transfer. These guys that play like at Coastal Carolina or Fresno, and then they up transfer to a place like Michigan. It doesn't always they can't handle it or whatever it is. It's just too much for them. So we don't know. So Keene also, he's one of those guys too. Besides him, there's a lot of positives, but that's a question mark. You don't know when you're bringing somebody in as an up transfer.
No, I just think the idea that's then these guys are all running the same stuff. The Fresno offense isn't, and what Bryce ran at Belleville, it's so similar to what the hell we're running.
Okay,
these
nice
concepts, RPO reading an edge guy and reading a linebacker on the pass option of it. So it's so damn similar.
So familiarity with Chip Lindsey's system a couple years ago, not that big of a deal.
That's a little overrated.
Okay,
I just think it's overrated because it's he's gonna we're running power football. We got a different scheme than what they did, a little different, but the RPO stuff, Danny, it's so similar to what everybody's running around the country. They ran it in high school, and it's not revolutionary different from what Central Florida ran. So, were you going to get into some of the recruits? Is that one of the?
Okay, here is something that I have. The Rivals they got together with On3. It's On3 and Rivals is one now. If you didn't know, so they put all of their analysts and their rankings together, and they came out with a new Rivals 300 in the big tackle from Missouri, Cantwell, who's going to Miami. He's number one. A quarterback is ranked 2. Bell, who's going to Texas. Maryland's got an edge. Zion Ely, a quarterback of Georgia, is ranked number 4. A lot of quarterbacks up there. But look at number 5, Carter Meadows, who was recently committed to Michigan. He's out of D.C. He's an edge. He vaults all the way up to a top 5 overall recruit. And I don't know, Scar, if you look, he'd be the number 2 overall defensive player because Cantwell is a tackle. And then you've got 3 quarterbacks. So he would be the second rated defensive player.
I mean, I got a question. Do these guys that make these rankings, do they give rationales and reasoning how this player got a bet? I mean, did they see him at camps? Did they see him get bigger, stronger at some type of function? I mean, because if I haven't seen, I'm looking at his junior film, I just wonder how a guy elevates or goes down even without, having looked at a couple games of his senior year. That's just me throwing it out there.
Yeah. The one thing I don't know is I don't know their process. I don't know how many people that they have that they're looking at, that they're putting their rankings together to come up with a consensus. It's not just one person, it's a group of people, but yeah, I mean, they're looking at it. They adjust it every so often, where guys are going up and down based on what they're hearing, or they watch them at a camp, or, they'll watch them during their season. Guys are moving up and down. So it's pretty fluid there, but these are guys that are, the more that this goes with how you have NIL and how you have this Deloitte who's approving NIL, a lot of it is going to be based on a Rivals ranking list. And, they're going to compare them to a couple more, but that's going to play big in how much money these guys are getting paid. If you had somebody that didn't show up at all on a Rivals 300 and you wanted to pay him $1 million, Deloitte, they're just going to be, rubber stamp NIL go, be like, But you got a guy like Meadows. They say, well, I guess he deserves the money. I mean, they're looking at something.
No, I just find that interesting. That it's basically saying it's pretty similar to Mel Kiper deciding
yes.
how much someone's going to get a ranking and how much someone's going to get paid before the draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah, correct. But
that's why I don't know how much I buy that. But anyway, listen.
Well, what I would say is that it's not just Mel Kiper. This would be like 10 of the guys that do the NFL draft stuff. It would be all 10 of their guys, right. And then they would be coming up.
Listen, I'm not knocking it. I just want to hear their rationale how a guy moved up without we haven't seen film unless they've seen him. Did the guy grow 2 inches? And he put 25 pounds of muscle on. Did somebody see him in a weight? Those are legitimate reasonings, and they might have seen him at a camp looking really good. But hey, we're in on number 12, right? We are in on the running back number 12 Hiter.
Hiter, and that is the one thing that jumps out. All of the other players in the top 12, I have a list that is up on the screen. All of them have committed somewhere except number 12, the top-ranked running back in the 26 new rivals, and these are all 5 stars. And yes, Savion Hiter, undecided, is sitting right there, and that's the guy that Michigan wants. He's the guy that they've wanted from the beginning. Of course, there's a couple other teams that really want him too. So,
and I wouldn't count out number 3 because you don't know what's going on with Loxley. He has another average year; he could be gone. So I don't know. I mean that's a long way, but it just you never know. Maryland, we've been able to recruit well at Maryland. I don't know that I close the door on that kid.
No, I hear you on that. You look and you say, what are the things that jump out? I mean, you see Texas and Georgia and Notre Dame up there, but you get a kid. A tackle that's going to Houston. I mean, Houston's in a Power 4 conference now, I guess. But you look, and then you see Maryland, who's pretty much a bottom dweller. That would be somebody that I would keep an eye on to be a flip candidate for sure before signing day.
Before you turn this, I'm just going to leave on one thought. You notice there's 4 edge guys up there, Denny. You win games rushing the quarterback. Leave it on that. How about some of these kids Michigan got? I looked at some film, Denny. I don't know if you want to keep going on that.
Yeah, everybody wants to hear what you have to say.
I looked at some film. Dorian Barney.
Yeah, the linebacker that they
6 foot. Man, I think we hit the jackpot there. This is a fast, tough, mean kid, athletic. He's a Rod Moore. He's a good-looking kid. Rod Moore wasn't highly recruited. This kid's a little more highly recruited. This kid reminds me, I don't know if you remember this name, Garland Rivers, the River Rat, out of Ohio, Massillon, Canton area. You remember that name, Denny?
Yes.
Anyway, I was watching Barney. I think he is a good-looking player. Will come up and tackle and cover and athletic, and we hit the jackpot there. So I'm big on him.
Thanks for U of M pointing out that the graphic up there is not Houston. He says that is Utah.
Oh, okay. Well, he might be a Utah kid. Those guys they want to stay home. I'll tell you, another guy I looked at, Denny, again, was this Mason Bonner kid, big tight end from Colorado.
Mason Bonner. Yep.
He looks like I looked at his film. To me, he's like none of his film had him blocking at the line of scrimmage. So I
looks like a wide receiver is what you're going to say.
I mean, they need to have different position groups for some of these kids. They need to call him a hybrid, unless But obviously, Michigan believes they can make a legitimate tight end out of him. But on film, he looked like a Colston Loveland type of kid. Very big kid, 6'6", athletic. He looks like that type of kid. But hopefully they've seen toughness. So that's the one thing I did not get to see is him ever with his hand on the ground blocking a defensive tackle. But, Michigan obviously feels that he's shown enough toughness and he has the size and athletic ability that they can work on that toughness.
Well, the other tight end that they got had a big bump when it came down to this new ranking, and that was you talking about Bonner from Colorado, the other one from Montana, Matt Ludwig. He was a high riser in this, and he's looked at more as someone who's going to be a blocker and a and a receiver.
Yeah, we can't have imposters. So Loveland was good enough as a blocker because I really think, Denny, listen, overall our tight end group, I think we have all legitimate Michigan tight ends. Loveland was a big-time hybrid kid. He was adequate as a blocker. Look, he's a first-round draft choice. Okay, he was a problem in matchups, but every tight end we put on the field this year, I think, we could run the football at them. So we're gonna have a real good tight end room. Denny, I'm just gonna say this. One thing great about having looked at this film real closely that we've been doing now the last 5 or 6 episodes, looking at
yes.
this, I've really got to look at, really size up different position groups. Some of the guys didn't play, so I know what guys we got coming back. But I just see our running back room. I see all tough dudes back there, man. Mullings was good, but I see our running back room slightly better. I see our offensive line slightly better. I see our tight end room all blockers. We might not have the hybrid, but you could make the argument that we're from a run stamp. I see our receiver room better. The more and more I look at our receivers, our receiver room is going to be slightly better in all areas. And our defense is just going to be rock solid, man. It's going to be what we've had the last 4 years. So I'm just the more and more I looked at the film, Denny, there's just more and more confidence for me.
Yeah, and that's great. And the quarterback play should be better without question, which is going to should elevate everyone on offense and help them out. All right, you ready for some film?
Yeah, you're going to pump our boys up real quick, a quick cut.
Yeah, we should. And I talked about Twitter earlier. I started following the guys over at Quick Cut. Quick Cut Video and Analytics. That's QWIKCUT. You want to break down film like Scar? You want to analyze it? This is your place to store, share, and analyze game film. Quick Cut Video and Analytics. That's how it's done. And with that, we put the film up and we're ready to go.
All right, Danny, this is a 3rd and 12 running flea flicker. This is not a play you want to run on 3rd and 12. This is a 1st and 10 play, but it's 3rd and 12. They ran it. You're not really, fooling people because, you want to run this on 1st down, in my opinion. But we got good stances. It kind of looks like run, but some of these guys are a little high in here. So anyway, I'm questioning the down and distance to run this play. I would run it on 1st down, but it's a scrimmage, whatever, who cares?
Yeah. Right.
I'm looking at the 3 linebackers here, Denny. There's a definite, distinct difference in which guys are biting on the fake and which guys are playing pass. Look at the 3 linebackers. You see them, Denny?
Yeah.
One of them, I think, is reading the linemen. The linemen are showing pass, which is bullshit. But it looks like a run play. But these 2 guys are stepping up, honor and run. But this dude ain't buying it. I'm not sure what his number is. He's playing pass. Watch how he's look where they are. Look where he is right now. You see the big difference in these 3 players?
Yeah.
They're freaking linebackers. They're all reading. They got to read run and then react to pass. But for some reason, this guy says that something ain't right. He smells a rat, and it's probably by stances. Anyway, we hand it to him. We pitch it back. We run this play, but it's well covered by the defense because, again, 3rd down, you ain't fooling nobody on 3rd down with this. 3rd and 12.
Jimmy Rolders, and all 3 of those backers should have been on the same depth and same line.
This is why I look at it as a coach. I'm like, why is this dude? This is stuff you look at. First of all, if I'm running this play, I think the sweet spot of this play is right over the linebacker's heads, about like 15 yards. Because they're the ones that are going to suck up biting on the dive. You know what I mean?
At least take a step. Right. At least take a step.
Yeah, I don't know that the bomb is going to be there always. Sometimes, we've run this play and had success with it. Okay, but I think the sweet spot is over the linebacker's head about like 15 to 18 yards. And you run a couple guys deep to run the secondary off. Anyway, that's just me, my thoughts on that play. But your question about these 3 linebackers, it's like, okay, they're all the same deal. They're the same level. They're reading run first and then reacting and then react to pass. And your question is, they should all be, but why is there such a distinct difference?
Yeah, well, one of those is Jacob Oden, a safety up there, right? So
yeah, well, again, they're just he's smelling something, man, Denny. It's just little things you look at in your players about intelligence and reading stances. I believe he's reading the stance. That's what I believe.
Could that be an exotic blitz? What they call
exotic blitz? No, they ain't blitzing.
Odin.
They bail out late. Both these guys bail out late. Watch them. Once they read run, they step up. And then they say, oh, shit, pass. And now they try to run out of there. You see it?
Yeah. No,
anyway, I just thought that was interesting. And that's when you're looking at the intelligence factor of players or what are they seeing, I think this is 88 up here. Say his name again.
That is I've been calling him Edokpayi, but that is not how you say his name. And in fact, he's been playing so well that I wanted to look it up to make sure that I get it right. And so let me do that for everybody.
Anyway, I see listen, the coaches have talked about him, and he's an athletic, big, he could be an Ojabo type kid. He's beating this guy in an inside move. We don't get any kind of the quarterback gets out the defense, but I'm looking at this kid and I'm like, this kid is raw and rugged, and he's I can see something there. You'd like to think, Denny, when we do run something like this, that the tackle senses it. And because I talked to the coaches how they do this, and he said he's got to feel it. They give this guy a two-way go, but then they tell him he's got to kind of feel it if the edge player's coming underneath, and then to get out here and contain. Well, he doesn't feel it, and the quarterback gets outside the defense. So that's just something I was questioning here from a schematic standpoint. So, Jaden Davis got adequate feet. Anyway, I'm Denny. I'm liking 88. Go ahead, say his name one more time.
Well, I have to look it up now. I was working. Okay. I was working on it. I had been calling him Edokpayi, and that is not it.
Okay,
here it is. No, I found it, Scar. I found it. Number 88's name is Edokpayi. Edokpayi.
Okay.
Edokpayi.
Okay. So now they're running a double stunt here, end under. They're working both ends under, and the tackles are coming out. And the offensive line does a great job here protecting. They pick up this stunt, puts it down in distance, 1st and 10. Great job by the offensive line. They pick this thing up beautifully, pass it on, pass it off. Not a smart throw by the quarterback. Thing was covered. Kind of a prayer. But I am bigger on our receivers. The more I'm looking at these guys, Denny, we have elevated our receiver talent. 2nd and 10. We got a jacked up pass rush over here. We're running a stunt, and we don't know what the hell we're doing. But again, is that 88 or that's 88 again? Opaye, beating this guy. Anytime you make the quarterback step up in the pocket, that's it's okay. It's good. So I like them. Look the stunt down here, Danny. Watch these two guys down here on the bottom. It's just jacked up. It's not timed up. See how they're running into each other?
Mm-hmm.
That is not what you want. But I tell you what, this 5-star linebacker, I see it, man. Boateng is the real deal, man. Watch him come up here and look at the speed, look at the tackle, look at the violence. That ain't an easy tackle. This kid is going to get on the field. I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be on special teams. Yeah, he ain't redshirted.
Right. No, he looks like a special teams guy.
This is you show me one play. I've been looking at enough linebackers. This is nice. He reads it. He steps up. He takes a great angle, right shoulder tackle, and he does something else here a little later. That dude's going to be. He's legit. He's a 5-star kid, and Yeah, this is just we're screwed up. Quarterback, 2 receivers are screwed up. More good protection. Late start on the play. Yeah, you know, Danny, sometimes, again, we want to yell at the quarterback. Good job catching the ball, Mr. Lowe.
Jeremiah Lowe, yep.
Jeremiah Lowe. Nice job catching the ball. But, you know, Danny, sometimes you don't know which of these receivers. Sometimes it's the receiver. The quarterback always gets yelled at, but maybe one of them guys are supposed to be coming underneath. But it's jacked up. All right, here we go. 1 minute left. 1st and 10. The narrative is that Ophibi is competing like crazy for that right guard's position, right? With Hiter.
Correct. Afobe and Hatar, I think his name is.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, I like Afobe here. Then anytime you get movement against our defense, a little bit of movement, that's showing me something there. It's not the greatest, but if you get movement against one of our guys, and it's not a big run, but you got to look at the little things when you're going against good players. So this is I like his short, choppy steps. I like 54 here, though, on defense again. This kid has had a good spring, man. I keep getting back at Palepale. Watch him take this dude here. He's playing outside the guard. I mean, That is a great play. He's playing what they call a 3 technique, Denny. He's playing a 3 technique. He's playing into the outside shoulder of the guard, in between the guard and tackle. So he's a B-gap player. He's responsible for playing B-gap, which is, you know, double team, play B-gap, don't get knocked out of there. But he comes off and he makes a play in the A-gap. That's hard to do, man. It's hard to do. He punches, and now he comes off and makes a play.
Nice. So, yeah.
Again, Dan, that's not easy, man. That's a big 300-pound guard. We got a lot of stuff going on here. Wink is bringing pressure end of the game. He's bringing looks like a safety corner blitz. He's got 6 guys at the line of scrimmage. We adjust to man. We're a little screwed up, but this ends up being a touchdown. It's a mental mistake. It's a mental breakdown. But Chip, Danny, I like stuff like this. Hopefully we have a creative coach. I'm hoping that this play was called based on the offensive coordinator realizing what coverage we were in, because this play is better against man coverage than it is against zone. But it's let's take a look at it. You know, he's hands it off to the running back. Running back hands it back to the receiver going in motion, and then the quarterback throws the ball. So whatever you want to call that play, reverse
flea flicker.
You know, reverse quarterback. You know, people have different names for these plays, but
sure.
I have a couple questions. Okay, so he calls this stunt. Now, this is why I didn't like always bringing corners, and because if you bring an edge guy, he's not tackling this dude right before. He's going to see this when you're coming. And like right now, he should see him getting ready to pitch that ball. He should see it, but he doesn't. And he ends up tackling the guy for no reason. He should see that. Why you got your head down? He doesn't see it. He should work off it and now get upfield, but he doesn't. He tackles the running back. And now we just enough time and he pitches it back. It's executed. The play is executed real well with the quarterback, the running back, the receiver going in motion, handing it back, and they throw it. But the biggest problem is the guy that's responsible for covering this play. And the linebacker's lost. And we get a better look. This guy right here is he's confused. We'll get a better angle here in a second. Throw it to Hoffman for a tight end. Kid's going to have a great year. So let's take a better look at another angle. Okay, so first of all, Danny, anytime you look at a defense, you look at dudes and you just see, it's like, you see this, you see that guy pointing? Something doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Maybe there's confusion. So 31 has the guy that's going. This is a man. I think this is a man free. No safety help. I believe 31 has the guy that's going in motion. So 41 ends up, he's got to take the tight end, but he's not. It looks like he's having doubts. This is why, as a defensive coach, Denny, you want your defense comfortable. I learned this from Coach Moeller. You got to get adjusted and comfortable. Don't let the defense get you uncomfortable. They're trying to get you uncomfortable with shifts, with motions, with formations, snap counts, and bullshit. You can't let them get you uncomfortable. You got to be relaxed. Okay, everything's good, but he's got him. He's got the tight end. He should realize he has the tight end. He's got this guy right here. Okay, Denny? He's got this guy right here. But for some reason, he's looking in the backfield at all this bullshit. He just bites for a second. And now he realizes what's going on. And this is the oh shit phase of the play.
Yeah, right.
Now that's what he's thinking. He's thinking, oh shit, this isn't a run. It's back in the quarterback's hands, and I got that dude who just ran up the sidelines. So
yeah, afterwards he's telling his parents, there's 20 seconds to go in the game. They're never doing that. That's probably what I would tell him too.
You got to play he's got to play his responsibility. But it looks, the kid doesn't look comfortable. He looks like he's a little confused, but he should know, man, I got this tight end. I don't give a damn. I got this dude.
He's pointing.
Well, he's pointing at something the motion. He's probably pointing at the motion. Maybe, see, because this is a problem sometimes. Because sometimes, Denny, with motion, you kick over a man, and it might change. In some defensive schemes, it might change who you have with motion. You follow me? That's why motion can screw up man coverage sometimes. Shifts can screw up man coverage. But anyway, he's confused, and he realizes it. And then right about now, he's thinking, oh man, I'm gonna get my ass ripped at film session. I'm gonna get my ass chewed at film session. But he hustles. But you got that. That's how much time you have. And I like this Marsh, man. I think Marsh is gonna have a great year. I just like his effort. I think he's a big, tall, athletic kid. He makes guys miss when he catches the football. Anyway, that's all I got on film, Denny.
I like it. I got two things for you while watching you. I loved it. I'm going to make sure I put Boateng and Palepale down there.
Denny, that dude, that's one of Scar's sleepers right now. Okay? I
like it.
Boateng, have you heard the coaches talk much about him, about his spring?
Well, yeah, I mean, they really do like him, but they I can see
why.
Like Chase Taylor, they like Cole Sullivan. Troy Bowles was out, and so the transfer from Georgia, Todd Bowles' kid.
He's gonna have a hell of a time. I'm gonna tell you,
they got good depth because Hausman and Barham, and then Roller is gonna factor in there. So there you got three, and Sullivan. So there's four. Yeah.
So here's the problem with the Georgia transfer. I don't know what year he is, but when I'm looking at Bosai, how you say his name?
Boateng.
When I'm looking at Boateng and I'm looking at those two seniors, I'm going to give Boateng reps before some third-year guy that's average. You know what I mean? So he's going to have to really battle. If he missed time because he was hurt, all I'm saying is I'm real high on that kid. I can see why he was highly recruited. I think he's going to push some people. He's going to push Rolder, and he's going to push some dudes. You watch. He's going to push some guys because he's an athletic.
I like to hear it. I had him circled when I was watching the spring game there, but it wasn't because of that play that you showed. And so I like that. While you were going through there, and Palepale was another guy that I had circled and that you keep showing plays from him. And I was just looking. He is listed at 6'2", and 335. When you showed him holding up that guy, he reminded me of Vita Vea, who plays for the Tampa Bay Bucks. 6'4", 347. Pretty, I don't know, they're similar body styles. But the Vea does that, holds the guys up, and then he's great. I mean, that was for a guy that size jumping over there and being able to make that play.
So Danny, here's the dilemma the coaches will have. See, let's say we have what do we say? We got Benny and is it Jenk? What's the other kid's name? The other what's the other 96? What the God damn
Trey Pierce.
Pierce. Those are the two guys I think are going to start. Benny and Pierce. Those are the two guys I believe are two inside guys that will start against Oklahoma.
Over the transfers, Payne.
Yeah, I do. That's just my opinion. I think they're gonna,
I like it.
I think they're going to start over those two guys. Okay. Yeah. So then here's the question you have to make that Esposito and Wink and these guys got to make. Okay, how much better is the Clemson kid than Palepale? How much better is the Alabama kid than Palepale? So I'd rather go with a young guy. If I'm getting the same kind of play, I'm playing the young guy. I'm not giving reps to the dude that's going to give me the same kind of productivity. I'm going to play a young guy and get him ready for the following year. So I just think that it's really crucial. And Palepale looked damn good to me in this spring. He's got to rush the quarterback, but he plays run real well.
All right, I've got one more thing. You're doing a nice job. Afobe, you have Nathan Afobe's name down. So 88 is the player in question that I want to play for you here. And Go Blue has asked him his name, and here's how he says it. Oh, let me see if I can back it up. That was bad. Here it is. I can back it up. Yeah, now it's playing.
Lugard Edokpayi.
Edokpayi.
Okay, Lugard Edokpayi.
Edokpayi.
Okay, I like him. Big, strong, athletic, young, tough. Got to get, there's so much, Danny, there's so much thinking going on there that these kids have to, to smell rats, man. Like that linebacker smelled a rat on that flea flicker. The other guys didn't, So that's what you want in Opaye. He's going to have to learn that. But listen, man, there's next week we're going to look at some Washington State film and start getting a feel for the quarterback. And because I guarantee you, Wink he's been hammering that Washington State film. They looked at all 12 games, man. So this is the problem. And I've been there as a coach. This is the problem. You got these coaches that came in, and you've also got the head coach, Venables, Woody ran in the past, trying to figure out how to develop a game plan. Because I don't know who they open up with, probably some lamb chop too, Yeah, whatever the hell, we ain't going to do jack against – we're going to try to get beaten New Mexico with our vanilla stuff,
Sure.
So anyway, but you do like to start preparing for what you're going to see, from Oklahoma now. So anyway, he's got to look at Washington State, and then you got to figure out. And this is the dilemma as a coach. How much do I want to look at old Oklahoma, and how much do I want to look at Washington State, and try to figure out my game plan? Venables might want some of that stuff that he believes in. That's going to be in the foundation of what, just like Sharon Moore brought in a new offensive coordinator. They got to figure out how much of our offense is going to be what Chip likes to run, and how much of it will be, 7 offensive linemen, which I hope we see. I want to get back to that. I want to see some of that stuff blended in, man.
All right, great job, Scar. We look forward to
all right, Danny. Next week, Washington State, we're rolling, man. The attitude is good. You're right, Robbie. The D-line is deep. We got a lot of dudes, man. That's Michigan, man. We got 105 guys now, man. So you got, you got guys that you put on scholarship. You got a lot of good players, a lot of competition. Go Blue, Danny.
There he is, Jim Scarcelli. Thanks so much. Talk to you next. Talk to you Wednesday. Bye.